you guys doing? I'm David Vose, and it's a beautiful day in Arkansas. Well, my voice is a little bit gruffy. Got a little cold. Well, I hope you guys are having a great day. I mean, it's a little cloudy out and gloomy today, but it's warm. But friends, I wanted to come and do a video today about something I'm really hesitant to make this video. Oh yeah, I know. What's coming, huh? I'm a little hesitant because I don't know what I'm about to say. I know some things I'd like to say, but I don't think I should say it. I don't think I should say everything, which is pretty much to say everything. Because, I know, okay, listen to this. Listen to this. You think you can say anything you want. You live in a free country, right? Then why am I so nervous right now? Why am I so nervous? Why can't I say what I want? See, I'm not going to say anything because I got to be careful, but that says it all, doesn't it? All right, here's some clues. A lot of you probably think I don't know what this guy's talking about, but he's funny. Well, I'm not very funny. You know how people get that nervous laugh when they're uncomfortable? Well, that's kind of what it is. It's not really supposed to be funny, okay? Because I've been thinking about this, and you know, it's not like you're being told. I mean, it's not like, oh, well, everything's just fine, you know. Yeah, you're depressed. Yeah, that's just your fault. You know, you should just be more upbeat, you know. Nobody likes a big old frown. Now, keep a smile on your face. Go to work. Punch a clock. Maybe someday you'll be somebody. Okay. Bullshit. You ain't gonna be nobody. Alright, nobody. Hope I don't have to cough too much during this. I thought maybe I shouldn't even do this video, but I'm gonna go ahead and try and get through this. But the funny thing is you don't want to be anybody anyway, okay? Because you're already somebody. But it's kind of like, it's so confusing. They want you to be somebody. They tell you got to be somebody. Do what we tell you when you can be somebody. But you're doing everything. I just watched a show. It's goodness gracious, it's an interesting program. And it makes you wonder what they're trying to tell you. Because this Netflix is probably owned by the same people that's propagandizing our mind, you know. But it's called The Black Mirror, I think it's called. And I've watched quite a few different little programs on there. And they're planting seeds in your mind. So I'm sitting there thinking, everybody else is watching this. And they're not stupid. So these little seeds are getting in people's minds. Now, most people are looking at this and thinking, wow, what a fantasy. What if this was real? But of course it's not. I watched one called Hang the DJ I think a couple days ago. And these two people fall in love. But in this modern technological age they're in, you get this little round thing, you push it, and you meet somebody, and it's sort of an arranged date. You push it, and it says, oh, you're going to spend 12 hours together. So you're like, oh, great, we got 12 hours, that's enough for dinner, and we'll go home and have sex, right? I mean, they want you to. They encourage this, because you're supposed to have this little short relationship. And then you're done, and you have to walk away, even if you liked them. And then you meet another person, and this next one could be 5 years. And then boom, even if you liked them, you got to leave. And they keep doing this until supposedly you reach this special perfect match. It's in that future age. Well, these two people, they liked each other and they really wanted to be together. But they got separated and they said they were supposed to marry somebody else. So they tried to rebel, and it turns out that they started realizing that, yeah, they can control your thoughts. They know what you're thinking. They started realizing that everything around them wasn't even real. They were living in some kind of a hologram. And once they sort of jumped over the fence, which didn't exist, it was just holographic fence, they started climbing the fence to get out. And once the machine knew that they had beaten the machine, it all just disappeared. So, I thought that was pretty interesting because we've been talking about how our world is a hologram. And so, it was pretty good show. There were several other shows that were similar to that, about futuristic days. But whenever we watch something like that, or, like The Matrix, we all watched that and thought, well, that could really be, and all the truthers are saying, yeah, we're living in a Matrix. But are we? The truthers talking about 9/11, red flags, maybe Pearl Harbor was all made up and we went to war. Maybe the financial backers drove us to war, bankrupt the countries, and they won both sides. See, they pitted Russia against the United States, against Hitler, against the Nazis or whatever, and in the end, nobody won, right? We think we won, but all right, after 1913, taxes, and now we all owe our souls to these financial institutions. You just found out yesterday, a couple of days ago, that our president wanted to fire the Fed boss or whatever, and they told him, well, you can't really do that. They're above the law. You can't edit them, or there can't be any, you can't audit the Fed. You can't find out what they're doing. There's no oversight. Even the president of the United States cannot fire the Federal Reserve. And they're not federal. They're owned by foreign interests. And they're talking about how maybe the Russians interfered in the election by spending $4,000 in Facebook ads. And yet we've got a foreign entity called the Federal Reserve that's controlling everything in this country. So if that's not enough to prove that this is just not what we thought it was, this world. So, to what extent then are we really here? Are we controlling, to what extent are we really in control of ourselves? Not forget the government. We know we're not in control of the government. But are we in control of our own selves? So, well, yeah, I do what I want. I speak my mind, Dave. Really? You know how the story goes that Jesus walked into Jerusalem and he's like, starts overturning the tables and the money changers and, started calling them hypocrites, and we're like, yeah, go in there, So Jesus didn't like it, called them all hypocrites and kind of overturned the system. And I guess it was pretty bad because they ended up crucifying him. Would you do that? Do you have the guts to do that? Do you even know how to do that? What kind of person would it take to go down into the middle of Washington, D.C., somehow or another get a platform, and then just start speaking real truth? You say, well, that's Alex Jones, right? Is he? He's telling us that something's wrong. He's telling us that they got control of everything and there's all these false flags, but has he really? It's kind of like, remember when they were talking about how we're fighting a war in the Middle East, but we couldn't even name the enemy. Like, we can't say they're Muslim. All right, well, we're not allowed to say who the enemy is right now. Fox News, a lot of us watch Fox News if we're conservative, and we say, well, they're telling us how it is, And do you realize how much they're not telling you? Is it true that everybody in the media is completely ignorant of who it is and what the problem is. Do they ever talk about the Federal Reserve on Fox News? Does anybody ever get up and say, yeah, Trump should just fire the Federal Reserve and just get us out of this thing? They're not going to do that. They'd lose their jobs immediately. But just think about things like certain words we're not allowed to say. Oh, I say whatever I want, Dave. All right. You hear people saying, F you and stuff like that, as if it's some sort of amazing, like freedom. And they're like, I'm not supposed to say this, but F you, Well, so when you say stuff like that, it makes you feel empowered, like I'm doing something they're told me not to do. But think about just how twisted it is that we feel empowered by speaking just some, like this is words we're not supposed to say. Say, well, Dave, of course we shouldn't say this, it's vulgar, right? Well, who came up with that? Poo-poo. Poo-poo's nasty. So we're told, don't talk about it. Okay. So what does that do to us? It means that there's these things we walk around and we're like, oh, okay. See, I don't ever think about that. And a lot of you think, well, that's because it's disgusting, so we wouldn't think about that. But have they trained us so that somehow or another in our mind we think that there are some things that you can't talk about, some parts of ourselves that there's something else going on there. It's like they want us to believe there's something deep down bad about us. That some people smell like roses all the time, and they're just, they put makeup on, take showers 3 times a day, their clothes are washed and ironed and, starched, and it's like, oh, high tension, and this breed of beings that wake up in the morning, get their shower, brush their teeth, floss, run downstairs, make some coffee, head down to the studio, punch the clock, and they're on time, and they're working overtime, and they're the guy that, that's got this $1 million home, and they're just so important. And you're worthless. Isn't that what it's really about? The peasants and their vulgarity. This comes back from a day when the high society would say, they'd stick their nose up in the air and they'd say, well, we're quite proper, aren't we? And these peasants, why, they stink and they shouldn't even be in the room, Why, of course we don't stink, because we're quite proper. See what I'm saying? Now that's just one area where human beings have been taught that just ourselves isn't good enough. And of course, living in an old cabin in the woods would be also not good enough. Why, where would you go to the bathroom? In the outhouse? Oh my goodness, are you some sort of a hillbilly? You can't go to the bathroom out there in the woods. Why, you're just an animal. You're not civilized. So to be civilized, you've got to come into town. You've got to basically, you don't get to build your own home, out of wood, which is what men do. See, they talk about emasculating men, with Jordan Peterson talking about this, and, it's far deeper than they get, and they won't accept the premise that this entire society is wrong. They're still trying to prop this thing up. They'll never get it. Men, they need to go out and they need to build with their own hands, their own cabin. And they need to open the door for the woman. And they need to build fires. What little kid doesn't want to go out and learn how to build a fire? Oh, he loves it. We go hunting. Oh, man, this is what this is what we were designed for. But you see how they've taken that all away from us? Well, now they're saying, well, it's, yeah, you can still hunt because that's your Second Amendment right, but, just for these darn bad people, these dirty people live in the hills, right? We'll give them their Give the peasants their rights, right? This is for the peasants. But us uppity people live in the city, we've got concealed handguns and, we just use it for protection. They've taken away our air to breathe, the sunshine. They've taken away our environment. It's just a paved parking lot. And it's sterile. But it isn't just the environment, it's our own thoughts. We're not allowed to think anymore. We're not allowed to think for ourselves. We're not allowed to be who we are, and we're not happy. Unless you can get out of this world and out into the wild. See how big of a change that would be? You're living in town and you're going to work every day and you think this is just hunky-dory, And even those, a lot of you are probably thinking, nah, Dave, not for me. I don't want to live in the woods. I couldn't do that. All right, but still, I want you to think about this. There's this guy living in the woods, and this gal. And you say, well, that woman's probably having it pretty rough out there in the woods, right? And I'm sure glad I'm living in the city with my perfumes and all my makeup. But just think about it. You're putting on a mask. You're living a lie. It's one thing you got to bathe 3 times a day. But it's another that you've got to have this perfect, immaculate porcelain shower, right? With a sauna and a swirly, thing you turn on and get massages and you can get the water the right temperature and you come out and you got your little perfumes and your candles, and this is just, you think, wow, what kind of luxury is this? That you've got this amazing, and I would never want to go back to the woods. But I'm telling you, you may think you don't want to live in the woods, but when you get out there and you start digging in the soil, growing plants, weaving baskets and frolicking in the fields and riding horses, imagine your long hair flowing in the wind, you're riding your horse, right? And you stop and you pull out an arrow and you load that thing and pew, you shoot yourself a big deer. You're so proud of yourself, and you get your wind in the hair. And the closest thing we can come to is a Jeep nowadays. You get in your Jeep and you put the top down and you're like running around out through there. But you see, remember Avatar when they would ride those, what was that, like pterodactyls or something? Or I'm sure they were having a good old time. And they would connect themselves, like they'd plug in somehow. I don't know if it seemed like there was some kind of thing that they would connect, or the hair would connect or something. Remember that tree? It was the tree of life. It gave them life. We're missing our connection to our environment and to our world. It's all sterile, and they won't let you feel. See, you don't know what it would be like to live in the real world. It's been way too long. You've never done it for over a day or two going camping. You've never really known what it's like to be out on a moonlit night where it's all dead silence and you can hear nothing but a creek trickling down through the night and the moonlight, and maybe you hear a coyote in the distance and you're all alone. See, you think that would be awful. The truth is that silence is peace. And you haven't heard peace in a long time. You know what you've heard? Noise. You're so screwed up in the head because of this world that you've got to have a thing plugged into your ear, and you've got to have this noise running 24/7. If you don't have that plugged into your ear, you feel like you can't go on. You see some of these shows on the Black Mirror is about technology, how people have got to be on their phone. This one guy, I saw one of them where he's on his telephone so much he ends up in an accident and he dies, and his wife is like, of course she's devastated. Well, it turns out that there's an app for that. You sign up for this app, and the computer has all these records and all these pictures that he posted on Facebook and everything. And it uses all this computer knowledge to basically recreate his mind, and you can talk to him. It's not really him, it's a computer, but it's just like him. And then you can upgrade, and they can send a sort of a robot thing, and robot knows exactly what to say, and it's just like being with the real person. We're living in a, if this physical universe isn't holographic, well, the fake world that we're living in, whatever it is sterile civilization that we're living in, where everything being told is a lie. You don't know whether they're controlling Russia and the United States, and it's just a big psyop, or we're really about to go to war, or nobody knows what's going on. And they're basically just messing with our minds. Every day of every week of every year, we just wake up and we think this is a real world, and somehow or another, we don't say F you because we don't want to. But the truth is, it's because they won't let you. They make you feel bad. They put guilt on you, and they're MK Ultra mind control. They're making you feel a certain way and believe a certain way. So that there are things you can't talk about. There are a lot of things that human beings could do that we're not allowed to believe is okay. There are things that some of you might kind of know in the back of your mind, and you know that they're important, that you aren't really allowed to talk about it or even really think about it. So without telling you what I'm talking about, I'm telling you. Whatever it is that's in the back of your mind that you've wondered, I wonder. We need to pursue those wonders. We need to start thinking maybe it's time that we should go back to being who we are. If we can't do it as an entire society, because what would you do if all the United States did it and the Russians didn't? Then what would they do? Like come and take us over, and like, oh, I guess we can't. So we got to stay in this stupid, straitjacket mental control, or else the Russians will take us over. That's the thing. That's the mind control they've got over you. The Chinese will get control of everything if we don't keep paying trillions of dollars for this military and sucking our, we got to go to work and pay for the military. We've got to pay taxes for the schools, or else our kids won't have education and they'll starve. They've got our minds total control. We're not even allowed to think about certain prospects. You get a vacation once or twice a year. You get to go do something you want to do, but it's not really what you want to do. Just once. Why don't you take your vacation and just take off somewhere in the woods, and don't just take a lighter and pocket knife and just go camping. Take your sleeping bag and just spend a week out in the middle of nowhere. So, well, I'd die out there, Dave. Oh, what would I eat and stuff? I'll take you a backpack of some food, to help yourself out. But, the first time, you may not know how to survive out there, so take some food. But get a feel for what it would be like just to be all alone out in the middle of nowhere. Because it's like the first day you're sitting there thinking, oh my goodness, what time is it? Is it time to go back? And oh, my show's on TV right now, and your mind's full of all this stuff. Like somebody's probably trying to get a hold of me. Where's my phone, right? But after you spend a little time in the deep woods all alone, and you start to forget, you start to come to this place of peace, and you start to realize, man, I got no worries. Ooh, man, I think I'll get up and jump in the river here, and oh man, look at that little bunny rabbit, and oh, look at these berries, and then the flowers are just, just so wonderful, and the smells, and of course, today, most of the world's probably already polluted and ruined, but darn it, something's wrong, friends. I don't even think I've captured even a 1/10 of what I'm trying to say in this video, but I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. Just some things to think about, friends. I'm going to go ahead and get this uploaded. I hope you guys have a great day. It's David Vose. We'll see you again tomorrow.